Almost sounds like Christmas. The gift that keeps on giving. 2020. I said 20. NFL playoffs are upon us. How do you like that? We are going into a matchup this weekend where when you think of players, you think of those that want to do the absolute best. And some of those teams will be on display tomorrow. Here to talk about the playoffs with me on Motorman and the RudeDog Show, it is the one and only Scott Morganroth. Scott, welcome back to the show. Happy New Year, by the way.
Well, happy New Year to you, RudeDog. Glad to be on again.
Yeah, man, we got some good stuff.
Energetic program.
Yeah, we got some good stuff going on here. Playoffs happen and start tomorrow, and we're talking about. And yes, I'm going to see the infamous quote that everybody will always hear, the quote around the world. Playoffs. You want to talk about playoffs? Well, these are the playoffs, and this is a whole nother book. You can throw the regular season one down the dumpster in the dumpster fire of all the other teams that did not make it in the playoffs. Maybe you'll put a fire on them to do something in the offseason to get them into postseason. But this year is a whole nother animal. You have a bunch of teams biting for contention, as tomorrow will pit the Buffalo Bills, who come in fifth, to take on, well, the infamous Houston Texans, led by Deshaun Watson. I'm going to say this, that I'm not really shocked by this afternoon time slot for a couple of reasons. First of all, when it's 4:35 and it's Eastern time in the afternoon, everybody's, they had their breakfast, everybody to relax and chill out. But the Texans are 10-6, and to be quite honest with you, the Bills are probably the best we've seen in probably a decade or maybe two, for that matter. Don't forget, the Bills are the only team in the NFL to go to the Super Bowl and lose 4 times. Maybe this is their year. When you look at the Texans and Deshaun Watson, he's been playing with like a man possessed, making throws, making passes, escaping defenses. Now, don't forget Josh Allen. This is his second year, and he's looking really good. He's making pinpoint passes down the field to everybody in his receiving core. I think everybody's touched the ball at least once as a part of that receiving core. When you look at the Texans and Deshaun Watson against Josh Allen, what do either one of these guys have to do in order to get this win out tomorrow?
Well, Deshaun Watson needs to find a guy by the name of Will Fuller. If Will Fuller is active, I think that Will Fuller could be a big factor in this football game.
Well, who else?
Because
you look at Josh Allen. Where does he get the ball to?
Well, if I were Buffalo, I would try to go ahead and run the football a lot and pound the rock. They've got some Devin Singletary, I think, is a very good weapon for him. Use the guy.
Well, hopefully he can be the guy, continue to be the guy, and obviously you're going to have to mix and match offensively in order to get that ball in one of two places. If you're in a red zone situation, you want to get the ball to, or maybe even some play action, especially in the red zone, depends on where you're at, right? So if it's first and goal, you want to make sure that ball gets tricked to be thrown to someone, and yet they're gonna run it in behind Josh Allen, pushing him in the end zone. I think that the Texans are going to have to find that Watson, Deshaun Hopkins magic that you had seen as a first part of the regular season last year. I could say last year because it is a new year, and I like Deshaun Watson's ability, his escape ability. I think that word's probably overused a little bit, but I think when you look at Deshaun Watson and what he's done during the regular season, that needs to happen during postseason. The Texans offense, at least from a numbers standpoint, when you look at the numbers, they're not extremely fantastic. Nothing really sticks out to you. But what I do think about is what Watson can do under center and really taking it to those cornerbacks, taking it to free safeties, and just putting on a real great show during the regular season. I think that will carry over. And you had mentioned Will Fuller. As long as he's healthy and ready to go and he's not a healthy scratch, I think Deshaun Watson may have a field day with a guy by the name of Will Fuller who has thrived in this system and probably continues to do so. Now, don't forget the running game, Scott, has been on point. Who do you believe is going to get more touches, Carlos Hyde or Duke Johnson?
You know what? I would not be surprised to get Carlos Hyde to get more touches. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling I have.
Well, I like Carlos Hyde, and the fact that Duke Johnson is a second. It's almost as if they're kind of bouncing between one another in order to be those guys that this offensive unit needs in order to be the difference maker down the field. Now, against certain secondaries, we're talking elite secondaries, it really went on again, and they took it to the Patriots. Make no mistake, this was not your regular mom and dad's Houston Texans team, and even last year is probably the equivalent to that. Of course, we've seen J.J. Watt go out last year as well. Also went out again, speaking of defense, but yet he's going to start. Is he going to see limited play, or are they just going to throw him in to the Wolves and see what he can do? What's that feeling like?
Oh, my gut feeling is they're going to throw him to the Wolves. You have to. It's a winner-take-all type of game, Rudy. And anytime you have a game where it's an elimination game, and, J.J. Watt came back with the intent to try to lead his team deep into the postseason.
To be quite honest with you, I think he's going to be a force. I believe they're going to monitor his intake. They're going to monitor his minutes and the ability to be on the field. They're going to really pay close attention to him, because if for some reason they're able to beat the Bills, and the Bills are really good up front, that offensive line has really protected Josh Allen all season long, J.J. Watt's really going to have to step it up big time if he's really, truly, and physically capable of putting in all those power moves that we had seen from him. Do you think this may be his last year?
No, I think he'll play another year. I don't think any player, Rudy, wants to go out there and feel like, they had an abbreviated season. I mean, he's an extraordinary competitor. He really is. So I would say no on retirement.
Is he going to stay with Houston then? I mean, they have very little depth in regards to linebackers. Is he going to come back for the last hurrah? For some reason, doesn't go to the Super Bowl and win it?
Could you see J.J. Watt in any other uniform but a Houston uniform?
No, not really. But at the end of the day, look at what's going on with Eli Manning. Eli Manning doesn't want to be Daniel Jones' backup, and I don't blame him for that at all. I wouldn't want to be his backup either, much less his custodian or shoe shine boy. So is Eli going to quit? That remains to be seen. To be a backup to Daniel Jones, I think that's even less likely. Will Eli Manning find a real good spot where he can be that pocket passer? A lot of that has to do with the amount of weapons the Giants did not have this past season. To be quite honest with you, yeah, you can use Saquon Barkley, and that's great. But when you're always going to Saquon Barkley, you're going to have a plan for that. You're not keeping the defensive teams honest that you're up against. So you really have to look at this as being a situation where now you get J.J. Watt, who's going to come back, and I can see him in a different uniform. Will he ever forget the kind of things that he had done while being a Houston Texan? No, of course not. He means so much to that community. But it wouldn't surprise me for him to see him take a pay cut in order to stay with the Houston Texans moving forward for at least the next 2 or 3 years. But we were talking about secondaries and how Deshaun Watson offensively was able to really stick it to New England and find a way to beat Stephon Gilmore, to beat their cornerbacks, to beat the safeties. Do you think is this going to be eerily similar of what they did against New England, and are they going to take it out on Buffalo tomorrow?
I tell you what, I like the Houston Texans in this game. I really do. I think that Buffalo has had a fine season, Rudy. I really do. But I think it's going to come down to a difference that Houston has more playmakers.
Well, playmakers are going to happen on both sides of the ball. I mean, it's not just going to be a complete one-sided affair, to say the least.
True.
You're going to have to do a lot of things to help put your team in the position to win. It means converting in the red zone, converting on 3rd and longs. If you put yourself in that situation based on false start penalties, things of that nature. So you're really going to have to turn the heat up if you're Houston. If for some reason they're not able to get past this somewhat decent Buffalo Bills secondary, probably I'd say top 3 or top 4. And when I say decent, they haven't been consistently decent. They were decent against the Steelers. They really showed up against Pittsburgh. I think one of the reasons why they showed up against Pittsburgh is because both of these teams, from a defensive standpoint, really mirror one another in various positions. So the inexperience under center with Devlin Hodges, not probably the ideal situation for him, much less the team. Whereas you have Josh Allen, who's growing into his own in Buffalo. To be quite honest with you, I think this is going to be a lot closer of a game because, look, Josh Allen's made very few mistakes this season. And as long as they continue to pound the ball and switch out between Johnson and Hyde, especially in the red zone, they're able to make, points at will, essentially. But I think Houston has other they have other ideas, obviously. But if there's a team that I think is going to win this one, I think the upset, and I think it's going to be an upset, I think Buffalo pulls it out. I really do. Because of the amount of errors and mistakes that Josh Allen hasn't made under center. But, I mean, it's going to come down to quarterback play. It really, truly is. From the 2-year experienced Josh Allen coming out of Cheyenne, Wyoming, playing for the Wyoming Cowboys and Coach Bull, to a situation where Deshaun Watson, who's been absolutely, nothing short of stellar, coming out of a Clemson hashtag all in with Dabo Sweeney and company. And of course, the head coach being able to really take it to different teams because of what, working within the parameters of what your players' capabilities are. If they exhibited those in college, you work with that. You refine that. You make it better, not take away from it. You add to it. But I'm still taking Buffalo here.
Well, I'll tell you what. Don't lose sight of the fact that Frank Gore is in that backfield. He'll be worth a few carries too, and they can go to him at times.
Well, they can, and they're going to probably have to use him in the slot as well in order to really make those possessions count, especially in the red zone. Next game up after that one, you're looking at the Tennessee Titans against New England. Now, don't forget, this is taking place in Foxborough, and I think one of the more, I'm confused. And here's a couple reasons why I'm confused. Because Tom Brady's not playing like Tom Brady. The secondary of the defense is not playing like a secondary of the Patriots defense. Typically, predominantly, you have a lot of no-name guys, and I take nothing away from what they've done by any means, but they haven't been the collective standard status quo Bill Belichick defense with a lot of no-name fantastic defenders and a lot of chinks in the armor. And we've spoken about this before. Everybody needs to throw us a follow at Take No Punches on Twitter because this is where things get a little bit heated and a little bit misunderstood as it goes down. So make sure you share, like, and love it. If not, love it, leave it for the next person, but we want you to love it. So that's where that is. So New England 12-4 and lost to the aforementioned Houston Texans. And then, of course, Kansas City won. So that dropped New England's seeding to a wild card situation. The Titans, oddly enough, have had probably one of the most surprising seasons of any NFL team, especially in the AFC this season. We'll talk about the NFC in a minute. But the AFC, with Ryan Tannehill under center for the Tennessee Titans, is almost like a flipped version of what this Titan teams look like with Marcus Mariota. Don't forget Marcus Mariota coming out of the 2015 NFL Draft with guys like Jameis Winston, bust. Is Marcus Mariota a bust? You mean he comes out of, he was a part of the Chip Kelly system, the fast-paced, high-speed system. Is he a college quarterback that has not translated those college skills into the next level in the NFL?
Well, you want to believe that's the case, don't you? I mean, let's face the reality. Him and Jameis Winston came out, 1 and 2? And Mariota's issues are not only his play, but the fact that he hasn't been healthy enough. And when you deal with health, it's funny when you had Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota, you have a situation where you had two guys that were that couldn't stay healthy, and you're hoping to get 16 games out of the two of them combined. But then when you look at Ryan Tannehill taking advantage of the change of scenery, how has that turned out for the Titans?
I think it's turned around well. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I look at this entire turnaround for the Tennessee Titans. And of course, people want to, now jump on the bandwagon of, well, I think Tennessee's going to end up beating New England. And to be quite honest with you, they may have something there, to be fair. Why? Because this is not the New England secondary that we're accustomed to seeing. On top of that, when you look at the New England Patriots and the fact alone that that Tom Brady has not looked great under center, to be quite honest with you, and he was snubbed, Tom Brady's not going to a Pro Bowl. Why? Because of quarterback.